Welcome to Backstage with John Taylor Ward, where we get to know some of the amazing artists that make the Lakes Area Music Festival what it is. I'm your host and the festival's co-founder, and today I'm very excited to be joined by Kitty Cheung, a Hong Kong-based violinist and a festival artist since 2011. We got together to chat about her life in music, as well as the civil unrest that has gripped both the United States and Hong Kong in this spring of 2020. Here's Kitty. Hello, Kitty. How are you?
Hi, Taylor. I'm very well.
It's so
And
good to
you?
see you. Yeah, I'm doing as well as can be expected these days. But it is really a pleasure to have you here with us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
So you have kind of made a trip around the globe in your education and career, starting in Hong Kong, going to the United Kingdom, and from there to the United States, and now back to Hong Kong. Tell me a little bit about that journey and what brought you to those places.
Oh, that's a long story. Let me try to put it short. So I grew up in Hong Kong, and that's where I still am right now. Did high school all the way until the one random Christmas break. My school choir invited a professor, the choral Dr. Violet from Eastman, to do some coaching and master classes for my high school. And at the time, I happened to have a piece to play with the school choir. And so we got to know each other. And then he said, "Oh, why don't you apply to my school?" And so I did the application, and I did a tape audition at the time. I had no idea what Eastman was, to be honest. I just took the opportunity that somebody asked, so I said, why not? And then from there, I did, it just, music chose me. And then I went there, did undergrad, and then at the end of the undergrad studies, my teacher, Charlie Castleman, said, "Okay, what's your plan?" I said, "I don't know." And he recommended me to London to study with my teacher at London, at Guildhall, David Takano. And then after that, so I did 2 years in London. And then after that, I thought maybe I could do more study. And so I did DMA back at Eastman, where I felt everyone is really nice there, and it's just a wonderful community. That's exactly where we met.
It's true. Yeah, we met almost half of my life ago, I think, at this point.
Oh my God.
At the Eastman School of Music. Yeah. But it's wonderful to have these connections with people that we've all known each other for long periods of time or short periods of time. But that's one of the great things I think about the Lakes Area Music Festival, is it's an opportunity for us to see these old friends and to make new ones.
Yes.
And so you're back in Hong Kong now, where you work and are based. And I have to ask you, I mean, it's impossible not to talk about current events in these times because they're so present in our everyday lives and everything. I was curious to know what the experience of being in Hong Kong is like right now. Maybe just a little explanation of that for people who might not be following that story.
Okay. It's been a year now since it all started. and it started off okay, and then I think everyone knew about the protests and all these craziness going on. It's a little calmer now, um, uh, and things, I guess, thanks to COVID, actually, that either side of the whole thing, the situation, um, could not do too much of an extreme action. So people are pretty much trying to keep life going, moving, and I think we have been quite lucky, um, with the virus, and not too many people suffering, and we don't have that many cases. So I do recommend wearing masks, because yeah, in Hong Kong, I would say 98%, if not more, of people wear masks. And so we do go out. I take public transport every day. I almost eat out every day, but of course they do have restrictions. You have to wear masks, um, and as you order food or as you sit, until the food comes, and then you can take off, eat your food ASAP, and then put it back on and leave. And so I think everyone is considerate here, most people. So that's good. Going back to the political side of things, it is not really improving in any way, unfortunately. And I am just trying to treasure every moment of freedom right now. Yeah, because we have no idea how bad it's going to get, and especially for artists, it's very sensitive and dangerous. You never know, what is going to be the right thing to say, or 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 even choice of program, because you can't really think logically, and for us in Hong Kong, we're so used to have that freedom, and this is a new thing to get used to, I guess. um yeah we try to fight against it, but sometimes I think it's more about finding peace as well. So there's a fine line to try to get, walk on.
And here in the States, since the murder of George Floyd, we've also had our own protest movement and our own real political strife. I know you can't speak for every Hong Konger, but how do you think the events in the United States right now are kind of viewed in Hong Kong?
People are with the people in the States. I think we really do feel for each other. There's some kind of similarity. Um, well, when it comes to violence, I think whichever side you're from, violence is something to avoid, but sometimes it's unavoidable. So brutality, I think we all don't accept in any circumstances, because in the protest in Hong Kong, we also have a lot of police brutality, which is almost exactly the same as the States. I don't know enough political things to say what is right and what is absolutely wrong, because it's a gray area. But I would say, we all have our own problems. We try to make the best out of it.
Yeah, it's amazing in this time when we've been in some ways so isolated. There is, I feel, an amazing sense of solidarity between lots of worldwide communities right now. And I would say musicians probably are one of those communities that feels really tight right now, and like we have each other's back.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And we're getting through political turmoils. We definitely can get through it, I think, with music, and with all these human problems.
So I got your timeline a little bit wrong when I was talking about your early biography. So you came from Hong Kong to the US first, and then from there to the United Kingdom, then back, and then
Yes.
back again. So had you thought of going to college abroad before then? Had that been like in your plans or on your radar?
Kind of, yeah. I've always wanted to get out of Hong Kong to experience the world. But at the time, I was too naive to actually be proactively looking into anything. So I was really, really lucky that the opportunity came to me.
And that's fantastic. I didn't know that story, because Dr. Weinert, of course, for me, was somebody who was very important in my career at Eastman as a singer. So that's great to hear that he was sort of your gateway into it. I wanted to ask, so when you first came to the States, what were some of the anytime you go to another country, there are always cultural things that are surprising and interesting and fun and funny. What were your impressions of the US, and maybe how did that develop as you spent more time?
My first impression was that everyone was very outspoken and extremely friendly. And I think that was also due to the fact that Eastman was the first U.S. As in the school environment, U.S. family kind of environments that I got to stay with, and it was a really good environment for that. That accepted a lot of different people, and just people are very talkative in classes, which was, as you can imagine, quite different from any Asian education. And I learned to speak up and be more communicative verbally, and just having the courage to show your own personality, I think was something that I learned from being in the States.
And I would imagine that also impacted your playing, because you were saying that you were not like you were not necessarily the most go-getter high school student who was like taking every audition, but this is something that sort of developed. And I would imagine that over that period of education, you really found your voice on the violin, as well as sort of in, public circumstances. And this is a very broad question, but how would you describe your voice as a violinist? What is the repertoire? What is the personality? What is the approach?
Sociable, would you agree?
I would very much agree. Yeah, you are. I think you're a really welcoming performer. I feel like when I've watched you play, it's almost like you invite the audience into what you're doing. Yeah, that's my impression. Would you agree with that?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, it's very true. And then also, I was thinking of, well, let's get to the Lakes Area Music Festival. So
Sure.
tell me a little bit about when you first came, and maybe some of the early memories that you have of the festival.
I think when the first time I came was your second year, possibly.
Possibly, yeah.
First or second, yeah. And it was still called the Chamber Festival.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very small, very cozy. Mostly consisted of people that we already know because it was really small, and we played. What did we play? Can't remember on top of my head. Oh dear. Um,
We may have played
we
Appalachian Spring because I think we play that like every 3 years. It's such a good piece.
it is. Well, we did that with the dancers,
Mm,
right?
yeah,
That was really fun. Yeah, was it already 2 years ago?
I think at
Or
least. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh my, time flies. Yes,
Do you,
and so
oh
yeah,
no, go
and
ahead.
so the first impression was, ooh, this is a nice place to be every summer. I should come back. Um, and and I love the community. Just the fact that it brings the Lakes Area Music Festival brings musicians from everywhere to this place in the world, this little dot,
Yeah.
and do something together and build a community. I remember back then the community weren't as close as I remember the latest time I
Hmm.
visited. I think the community grew with the festival, which was quite special.
Yeah, I'm really happy to hear you say that because that's how we feel too, I think. And it's been
Yes,
really inspiring to watch for over a decade now. And to
yes,
deepen our connections with musicians like you, as well as with people who are visiting or live in central Minnesota.
yeah.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, so these are strange times that we're living in, of course.
Mm-hmm.
What is a song that you've been listening to a lot, or a piece of music that's been sort of on your heavy rotation?
Uh, Requiem.
Really? Tell me a little bit about what you're finding in that piece right now.
Mm, well, I don't tend to listen to the details. I usually listen to it before bed,
Hmm.
and it's just very comforting, I think.
Yeah.
Um, and that that sound of that sound of an organ with a choir with an orchestra, um, it's like a blanket,
Yeah.
um, and and I guess the idea of a requiem also suits what's going on now. I guess this is what we need, some some music to help us remember what is going on in this world too. And even though Faray wrote it many years ago, I think everything is still applicable
Hmm.
when you listen to the music.
Yeah. And that's really interesting when we think of, a requiem is designed for both grieving and for healing in some ways. So I think that's a really apt point.
Yes, yes, both for the living and for the dead, for the
Yeah.
past and for the future,
Yeah.
and for the present.
Hmm. One of my favorite memories of you from the festival was one time late at night playing ping pong. Um, and we were playing doubles, and I remember you saying to me, I was sort of like messing up and making these unforced errors, and you turned to me and you said, it's just practice, it's all just practice. And it was so remarkable because it stuck with me and it made me think, like, wow, this person is a really great teacher. And I mean that in a broad sense, not just as like a violin teacher, but this is somebody who has some wisdom and who can share it with people. So talk to me a little bit about your life as an educator.
My first early on teaching experience came from helping out Don't laugh. Helping out my mom, who's a piano teacher, uh, just watching her students, the smaller kids, practice and giving them random words of advices when she had her toilet breaks.
Ah, there you go. And so today you are on faculty at it's Hong Kong Baptist University, is that true?
Yes, that's
Tell
true.
me
Yeah.
about your work there and what you do and
Okay, my work there is pretty simple. I just teach.
how many students?
Depends on the years. I mean, dependent on each academic year. There is actually the way Hong Kong works is slightly different from the States, and unfortunately, as an instrumental teacher in college in Hong Kong, there is no full-time position. For me, it's good because it means I could perform, and and uh, I can just teach them. I listen to their juries. Sometimes I give workshops or perform at the school. The students are fun, quite fun, but lazy. A lot of them. I think I was lucky to be surrounded by um, a bunch of nerds like you and me and everyone, and we were lucky to be in places where we could truly focus on study. It's I think Hong Kong in a way is very very vivid, and so kids tend to have the privilege of doing everything else but practice.
Right, that makes sense. When I was going back to that little anecdote that I told, it was so. I wanted to ask a little bit about your sort of philosophy of practice. How do you, what kind of mental space do you try to get into to make your most effective practicing happen?
Okay, it depends on the situation. Uh, if there's a deadline that comes up really soon, then of course you just work on getting things done before the deadline. I think we all agree on that. And but normally I would try to remind myself that every day, as you said, with the ping pong, it's just every day is practice. Practice is every day,
Yeah.
and so try not to make a big deal out of it, and try to enjoy it, even though it could be stressful at times. But that's just life.
Yeah.
So seeing music as a parallel universe um, of as life. You could say music is like the glass little crystal ball of the universe, or you could say the universe or the world is a crystal glass of music. It really depends on how you see it. I think it works both ways, and I try to approach it both directions, and see how it connects with us. How every note connects with us in daily lives, as in not only just how we connect with the composer or the piece, but also reverse and how we connect every now to every other moments or space, and so every note has a purpose. It's like when you talk, every word should have a purpose.
Yeah.
And we're all learning how to do that. So.
Oh, I get. Well, it's so weird to talk about people's careers right now because they're all like on hold.
Us.
Yeah, I guess like if we were in normal times, like I would be asking like, what is a typical month look like for you in terms of the repertoire you're doing and things like that. But actually, that's an interesting question these days. Like, I think at least for me, having the time and space to make music has been really nourishing in during this pandemic. So what are some how have you been using music in this time in terms of performances or practices or videos or whatever to sort of keep you going?
Well, seizing every opportunity. I do some online stuff and try to make recordings, and those try to think what might be good pieces to use, and it's actually a good reflective moment, because sometimes we don't get to pick and choose what we like to do, and now you really do try to think, oh, okay, this piece is what I try to work on now, and I have this much time or unlimited time. I can reschedule the bullet points of the rundown of the self rehearsal inside the head, and yeah, it's really refreshing. Trying to play. I try to pretend play in orchestra.
Oh, really? How does that work?
Well, you just karaoke with the recording.
Ah, okay. I hadn't even thought of that. So for me, that's like the equivalent of singing in the shower, but you probably don't bring your violin.
Yeah.
What's been a favorite piece to play karaoke orchestra?
Well, I don't know. Well, okay, I think just random pieces. Can I say Nutcracker?
You can say Nutcracker.
That is
I'm
strange.
I'm not going to be one of those people who's like too cool to love the Nutcracker.
well, it's something we don't know if it's gonna happen, right?
That's true.
Yeah, and maybe that gives some hope.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. Yeah. Playing chamber music. I've been doing some duos.
Okay.
I gave an online recital with
Mm-hmm.
Cherry, if you know Cherry, the pianist.
Yeah.
She was at Eastman with us, and now she's also back in Hong Kong. And yeah. Okay.
Well, Kitty, it's been so good to see you and to talk to you. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you, Taylor.
And
I
before
hope I said, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, before I let you go, as I said, I forgot my notebook today, so I can't ask you 10 quick questions, but I do have 6 quick bang questions for you. You ready to go?
Okay.
Okay. Favorite pizza topping?
Pepperoni. Too many to choose from. Okay.
Okay, favorite big cat?
Meow.
Meow.
Tiger.
Chocolate or gummy bears?
Chocolate.
Lucky number?
803.
Okay. Favorite woodwind instrument?
That's tough choice. Can I do both?
Go for it.
Oboe clarinet.
Okay. And favorite violin concerto?
Prokofiev 1.
Ah, beautiful. I don't think I know it.
You should
I'll
listen to
have to
it.
go and listen then.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Thank you so much. And I hope that you have more great days. And I'm sorry that we won't see you this summer in Brainerd, but the next and the next and the next.
Yes. Yes. Already looking forward.
Thanks for tuning in to Backstage. For information on any Lakes Area Music Festival programs or to make a tax-deductible gift, please visit lakesareamusic.org. I hope you'll tune in next time. Until then, bye-bye.